What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Untamed Outdoorsmen. And today we are back once again in the garage making a video that honestly is one of my favorite videos to make every year. I look forward to doing this because it always means that we're getting closer to the fishing season and we're right there, and we are pretty close. And today we are going to be doing our 2026 Rod and Reel Arsenal Showcase video. So we've done this video pretty consistently every year, and like I said, it's one of my favorites to make every year because I just love talking shop about fishing rods and reels. I think it's fun, and it gives you guys an update on kind of what we have going into the year. Obviously throughout the year these are all subject to change, but as of right now, March 2026, this is what our rod and reel arsenals currently are going into the coming year. So super excited about this one. This should be a great video. For the next year going forward until the 2027 Rod and Reel Arsenal, I am going to leave this video in the description of every video going forward for the entire year until we replace it with 2027. That's what we did for last year's video. We're going to replace it with this video now. So just in case you guys are watching a video and you guys like a combo that we're using and you want to see what we're using, this will be the video for that, and it'll be left in the description of every video for the whole year. So yeah, guys, these are my combos. There's about 14 of them right now. You probably can't see them because it's camouflage, but I'm kidding. And I need to make a very clear disclaimer with this video. You do not need these type of combos to enjoy bass fishing. The kind of fishing that we do, it's consistent use, consistent hard tournament use. We really go all out every year and we put these things through the ringer. So for me, these type of combos, I can justify having these because I get their use out of them tenfold. But you do not need this to enjoy bass fishing. Everybody has a different definition of what works for them. If going minimalist and not having any sort of crazy combos like this, going, basic like that is what you want to do, do it. If going even crazier than I do here is what you want to do it. There is no right way to do things. So I'm going to make that abundantly clear, and it's all in how you use it and, if you can justify it for your situation. This is about, I'd say, 8 to 9 years of collecting, of using, of replacing as we use them and upgrading with time. I did not buy all of these in one complete shot. It was very consistent, very gradual. And the more we use something, the more likely we were to upgrade it to something better. So you need to make that clear. Everybody has a different definition of what works for them. So do what makes you happy. But all right, so we're gonna get going here. Like I said, we have 14 of them, and we're just gonna go one by one, showcasing the rod, showcasing the reel, showcasing the purpose of it, and showcasing the line. So we're just gonna get started here, go one by one. So this one here is probably one of my more used combos, and actually it got used slightly less this prior season, 2025. So this combo is my Wacky rig and rarely blade bait combo. So 99% of the time I'm using this, it's going to be Wacky rigs, but that 1% is going to be blade baits. So this rod is a Dobbins Caden Series 7'1" medium light power. I love the medium light power. In baits that you can get away with a medium light on, I recommend throwing a medium light. It is so much fun. Every single fish is an awesome, experience. It's definitely a challenge, even like a 2-pound bass. Like, it is crazy how much of a challenge it is on a medium light, and it's fun. So definitely recommend the medium lights where you can get away with it. But anyway, 7'1" medium light. The reel here is the Shimano Vanford. This is the original Shimano Vanford from 2020, 2021, 2500 HG. This thing has probably been my most reliable workhorse that I've had. I bought this thing in late 2020, I believe, so this is going to be going on, 5 years, 6 years now of owning this reel, and it has not skipped a beat. It still feels just as good as the day I bought it, and I love this thing to death. Like, this was probably one of my best purchases I've made in terms of reels ever in my entire fishing career. So yeah, super excited for this. This will be another great combo for the year. Nothing really to complain about here. And the line is 15-pound braid with a, I believe, 12-pound leader, fluorocarbon leader. So, all right, so going on to number 2 here. The next one here is my heavier duty Texas rigs / punching setup. So this is a pretty unique one actually, because the rod is actually becoming pretty rare. So we'll start with the reel first. The reel is a Shimano Corrado K 200 size in the 8.5 to 1 gear ratio. So a pretty fast reel here, but with Texas rigs, with punching, stuff like that, you want something a little bit faster. And like I said, 200 size reel, so a little bit larger than your run-of-the-mill 150 size. The line is 20-pound fluorocarbon on here. I may step up to braid at some point to like 50-pound braid, because you know, being able to rip through vegetation on braid is a lot easier compared to fluorocarbon. So I might change that pretty soon. But we'll talk about the rod now. So the rod is a Favorite Fishing Lunkers TV Edition limited edition. So back in 2019, 2020, the Guggen Squad, kind of when it was at its peak, they actually combined with Favorite Rods. Some of you may remember that. And they created a special line of Favorite Rods for each Guggen Squad member. So they had a John B one, they had a Lake Fork Guy one, they had an AP Bass, and they had a Flare one, and they had a Lunkers TV Edition one. But they actually had two Lunkers TV Edition one. They had a red, white, and blue one, which was the more common one, and they had a green, black, and white model. This was the more rare version. But this is still the Lunkers TV Edition, but it is the more rare version of it. And this thing is cool. I'm probably never going to replace this thing. I like it a lot, and I'm always going to be a fan of it, just because it's eye-catching, it's interesting, and it's a lot of fun. So it is a 7.6 heavy power fast action tip. Favorite Defender Lunkers TV Edition, the special edition Lunkers TV Edition. It's kind of a mouthful, but yeah, a pretty cool combo, pretty rare rod. So always fun to show that one off. So the next one here is my Chatterbait combo. So this one has seen some changes over the last like 2 years. It's seen multiple changes, and I finally have it to a place where I'm pretty happy with how we are Chatterbait wise. So we'll start with the reel. The reel is a Daiwa Tatula SV 6.3 to 1 gear ratio. So I bought this thing about 6 years ago as well, and it's still holding up really well. Obviously we grease all of our reels consistently every year, but it's held up really well. It's got the T-wing system on it, so I've been happy with this for about 6 years now. The line is 15-pound fluorocarbon, and the rod is a new one for this year, and this is the Dobyns Champion XP 736 CB glass. So it's a 7.3 heavy power fast action tip. This is a rod that is specifically designed for chatterbaits, spinnerbaits, larger crankbaits. That's what this rod is designed for. It's a glass rod. So this thing is super cool. We've gone through a few changes with the chatterbait rod. Last year we had a Sierra 7.3 medium heavy, and I just found that to not be powerful enough for chatterbaits. Many of you actually commented that. You guys were right. It was just not enough power there, so we ended up stepping up a little bit, and we delegated that Sierra to a different task. We'll talk about it later on. But yeah, so Daiwa Tatula SV, Dobyns Champion XP 7.3 heavy fast, glass rod, and 15-pound fluorocarbon for this guy. So yeah, I fully expect this to be the long-term solution chatterbait wise, and looking forward to trying this out this year. So very cool. This is number 4. Okay, so this is sort of it's not quite an all-purpose setup, but it does do a few different things for me depending on the year. So this is my Ned rig setup. This is my tube setup, and this is my swim jig setup. So depending on the year will be what is tied on to this rod. But this rod is meant to do those three different things. So we'll start with the rod. The rod is the Dobyns Fury Series 7-foot medium power fast action tip. Pretty standard stuff there. Nothing too exciting there. Pretty basic rod. The line is 15-pound braid, and the reel is the Shimano Stratic 2500 HG. So I ended up getting an absolutely killer deal on this a few years ago. So insane, like a once in a lifetime opportunity for a new inbox one. But either way, this thing is incredible. Very comparable to my Shimano Vanford. Maybe a little bit heavier than the Vanford, but overall a great reel. So yeah, Dobyns Fury, 7-foot medium fast, 15-pound braid, and the Shimano Stratic 2500 HG. And this is for Ned rigs, for tubes, and for swim jigs. All three of those, depending on the time of year. So pretty quick one there. That one's been pretty consistent the last few years, so not a whole lot to talk about with that one. All right, so the next one here is, to be honest with you, probably the one that I use the least, I'll say. And I'm hoping that we can kind of get a lot better with this one and use it a lot more. This is much more of a fall time and a springtime sort of rod. And I really only bring it during those times of year. And this is my jerkbait setup. So we'll talk about the reel first. So the reel is a Daiwa Tatula CT 6.3 to 1 gear ratio. I bought this around 2021-ish, early 2021. I really like this thing. This thing has been a solid reel for me, so no complaints there. Not a ton to talk about, very similar to the SV in how I use it at least. So the rod, we'll talk about the rod. The rod is the Guggen Squad Green Edition Twitch rod. So this is a 6'9" medium, I believe. Let's confirm that. Yep, 6'9" medium moderate. Honestly, I don't have a ton to complain about with this combo. You know, I know there's a huge stigma around Guggen and Guggen rod, stuff like that. Overall, I don't have much to complain about when it comes to this Guggen Green. You know, take the stigma out of it. I don't think it's that bad of a rod at all. But I would definitely say that this rod is probably the most likely one to be on the chopping block in terms of replacement and upgrading. Because I really want to get into jerkbaits a little bit more. Maybe next year you guys will see an upgrade to this Guggen Green, but for now this is what we got. So 6.3 Tatula CT Daiwa, 12-pound fluorocarbon, and a 6'9" medium moderate Guggen Green Twitch rod. So yeah, pretty cool, and that's my jerkbait setup. All right, so next one here, and this is the combo this year that is completely new. So we did a complete overhaul of this setup, but this is my drop shot setup. So like I said, complete overhaul. The old setup was a Lew's TP1 speed stick and a Shimano Sedona. I noticed this last season in 2025 that we really stepped up our drop shot usage. And I decided that it's time to upgrade. It's time to, you know, kind of upgrade that setup, give it a little bit of an overhaul, you know, give it the love that it needs a little bit, I guess. The upgrade, we'll talk about the reel, is the Shimano Ultegra 2500 HG. So it's a slight step below the Shimano Stratic. Still an incredible reel, but a slight, like one tier below the Shimano Stratic. But either way, still an incredible reel. We have 15-pound braid on here with a very long 6-pound fluorocarbon leader. You know, the drop shot setup is something that, you know, I had a lot of fun using last year. So yeah, 6-pound fluorocarbon leader, pretty long, like 6+ feet. And then the rod here is one of the cooler ones in our setup. So the rod here is a Dobyns Champion Extreme HP, so a step above the Champion XPs. The Champion HP, 7-foot medium light fast action tip. So that's going to give it that finesse that it needs. That's going to give the finesse that a drop shot needs. That lighter power rod can only help you when it comes to drop shot. So I noticed with a medium power that it was just too heavy of a power, and I decided it's time to do a little bit of an upgrade here, and we actually stepped down in power, and I think it's going to be a great decision. So yeah, not a whole lot to talk about with this one yet. I don't have any experience on the water with it yet, but we're going to get plenty of use with it very soon coming up. So yeah, a lot to be excited about there. So yeah, that is the drop shot setup. So next up, and I think you guys are starting to notice a bit of a pattern here. Next up is my frog setup. So this is dedicated frogs. Nothing else except frogs will ever be on this combo. So the reel is a Shimano Curado K 8.5 to 1 gear ratio, 200 size. So the Shimano Curado K 200, 8.5 to 1 gear ratio. Obviously the right-handed retrieve, but again, the Shimano Curado K is one of my favorite reels. I just think it's an absolute workhorse. The line is 50-pound Power Pro V2 Super Slick, so it's 50-pound braid. We don't really need the V2. I just wanted to give it a try, and it's definitely cool. But yeah, so that's 50-pound Power Pro braid, and the rod is a Dobyns Caden Series 7'4" extra heavy power. They call it mag heavy on the rod, but yeah, 7'4" extra heavy power with a fast action tip. So this, in my opinion, is the perfect frog rod. I bought this combo midway through the 2024 fishing season, and we got a whole year of use on it in 2025, and this thing is so much fun to use. I really enjoy it. We actually had a whole tournament where I only used this setup because it was a frog only tournament, and this thing performed extremely well. So no real complaints, and you know, the full cork, I like the full cork for heavier baits like that. So yeah, guys, pretty cool. Shimano Corrado K200 8.5 with the Dobyns Cadence 7.4 extra heavy fast action. So yeah, very, very cool. So I think we're reaching about the halfway point here. My voice is already starting to feel it. Next up, this is my medium duty swim bait combo. So I'm not throwing like insanely heavy baits on this. The most I'm probably going to throw on this is maybe 1.5 ounces, maybe 2 ounces at the very most. So not anything absurdly heavy is going to ever be thrown on this, but this also serves as like if we're going to ever be put in a situation where we go for muskie, or we're going to be put in a situation where we go for like big lake trout, whatever it may be. That's where this rod's going to come into play, because this rod is kind of designed for those sort of situations. I could also use the frog rod if I wanted to, but I like this one a little bit more for those kind of tasks. And of course, the dedicated purpose for me is medium duty swim baits. So the rod here is a St. Croix Bass X. This is a much older St. Croix Bass X. It's got the blue X on it, so much older. Probably 2019, 2020, somewhere around there, I got this guy. But this is the 7.4 heavy power with the fast action tip. So, you know, this thing's been pretty reliable for me. It's a SC2 graphite blank, and it goes up to 1.5 ounce actually. So I'm not throwing anything heavier than 1.5 ounce on this thing. So perfect for those lighter to medium duty swim baits for me. And the line is 20-pound fluorocarbon, and the reel is the Abu Garcia Revo Beast X, which is their 40 size. So a little bit bigger, but like I said, Abu Garcia Revo Beast X 40. I like this thing. I've had this thing for a couple years now, at least 3 or 4, and I really like it. It's been pretty solid for me. It is a 6:4 to 1 gear ratio, maybe a little fast for this application, but either way, definitely does the job and does it pretty well. So definitely happy there. So the next one is my lighter duty Texas rigs. So I have found myself in a lot of situations where I want to throw Texas rigs, but I don't feel like throwing them in heavy mats or areas of heavy vegetation. I like throwing these in like open water, mild vegetation. That's where this guy is going to come into play. So lighter duty Texas rigs. I don't see myself putting anything larger than a 3/8 ounce bullet weight on this. So not anything heavy at all. But this is lighter duty Texas rigs. So the rod is a St. Croix Mojo Bass Trigon rod. So the Trigon, it's like a triangular rod handle down here and down here. And it is a 7'1" medium heavy power. So I really like that rod. It's been very solid for me. The Trigon rod handle, I can honestly take it or leave it, but it is a very sensitive combo and I'm a fan of it. So no complaints there, and it is a fully carbon fiber blank, so that's pretty cool. The reel is probably my most expensive one that I have. I saw an opportunity to pick this up, give or take about 18 months ago. I saw the opportunity to pick this up and I took it. So the reel here is a Shimano Metanium 8.1 to 1 gear ratio reel. So it's funny because if you go back to our 2024 rod and reel arsenal, I said word for word that I would never buy a Metanium.
No. For our needs, we've kind of like plateaued. We don't really need any like Metaniums or anything like that. Yeah. So
times have changed. So yeah, the Shimano Metanium, I mean, hands down, my best reel that I own. And I can definitely tell that. When I throw this Shimano Metanium around versus when I throw something like the Corrado K around, I can clearly tell a difference. The smoothness of this Metanium is leaps and bounds above anything else that I have in this arsenal. And I have some pretty nice reels in this arsenal, and this one blows all of those out of the water. So the Metanium is definitely a want item. It's not a need item, but if you have the means to do so and you can justify it, I definitely recommend it because I think it's a really great reel. And the line on there is 12-pound fluorocarbon. So cool. The next one here is one that I am definitely a pretty big fan of, and one that we've actually upgraded. We upgraded it midway through last season, and this is my dedicated jig rod. So the reel, we'll start with the reel. The reel is the Daiwa Tatula SV 8.1 to 1 gear ratio reel. And this thing is pretty cool. I'm definitely a fan of it. I've had this thing for a long time, 2018, 2019, and I've used it very consistently. It definitely has some age to it. We're gonna keep using it either way. The line is 17-pound fluorocarbon on here, so definitely a solid one. And the rod is the best rod that I have in the entire arsenal. So the rod here is a Dobbins Ecstasy series, so their top of the line model, 7.5 medium heavy power. So this is great for, you know, the medium-sized jigs like 3/8, half ounce. I think it's perfect for that. I've had no complaints whatsoever. So yeah, extremely solid rod. I mean, one of my favorites. Extremely sensitive, lightweight. I'm definitely a big fan of it. So yeah, very, very excited. So we have 4 more here, and we're gonna keep going. The next combo here is my crankbait setup. So this handles pretty much all crankbaits that I have. It can do them all. So this combo, I think, was probably my most used combo in 2025. Between the tournaments, between, you know, all the different situations, I think this one was the best combo and the most used combo in my entire arsenal. So we'll start with the rod. So the rod here is the Duckett Insight 7.6 cranking stick. So I believe this is a medium heavy power, but it is a dedicated cranking stick, a crankbait rod. So like I said, Duckett Insight 7.6 cranking stick. I love this rod. It's been a really, really great rod for me. No complaints at all. This combo actually won me a tournament last year only using this combo. So this combo is a legend in Untamed Outdoorsmen. So yeah, so the line is 15-pound fluorocarbon, and the reel is the Shimano Chronarch MGL 7.1 gear ratio. So this is around my second best reel that I have in my entire arsenal. And this thing has seen so much use. I have really, you know, put this thing through the ringer. I've really tested it, and this thing has done extremely well. So I'm really happy with this thing. You know, really no complaints at all. And you know, I am definitely thrilled with how this combo has worked out. So yeah, Duckett Insight 7.6 medium heavy cranking stick, 15-pound fluorocarbon, and a Shimano Chronarch MGL 7.1 to 1 gear ratio. So very, very cool for a crankbait rod. So we have about 3 more, and let's get into it. So this is my Topwater NOT Frogs. So everything Topwater related excluding frogs. So this will do all the Topwaters that I have that are not frogs. The dedicated frog rod will do that. But so this will throw anything like jitterbugs, walking baits, you know, things like that, whoppers, poppers, things like that. This will throw them. So the reel here is a Shimano SLX, not the DC, just a regular SLX, 7.2 to 1 gear ratio. We have 20-pound braid on here, and the rod was originally my Chatterbait rod, but now we are delegating it to Topwater NOT Frogs, and this is a 7'3" medium heavy action. So it's a Dobbins Sierra 733C rod. So 7'3" medium heavy fast action tip. You know, we're gonna be trying the rod out for the first time in this application, so I can't really speak much on it, but the reel has been extremely reliable. We've had this thing for a couple years now. I wanna say maybe 3 or 4 years now, and it's been very reliable, very consistent, and you know, anybody on a budget, I highly recommend the Shimano SL. You know, I really think it's one of the best value for money reels on the market, and definitely recommend it. So yeah. All right, so now we're going to talk about one that was not in the 2025 Rod and Reel Arsenal video, and this is a little bit more of a unique one. So this one here is a all-purpose rod. So the reason I got this is because we do quite a bit of bank fishing on the channel as well as kayak fishing. Kayak fishing is a priority, but we do also dabble in bank fishing, we dabble in bass boat fishing, we dabble in different types of bass fishing. And it doesn't make sense to bring all these combos to those specialty trips because space is limited in those situations. The kayak is built from the ground up to carry this quantity of fishing equipment, but there are many situations throughout the fishing season where we want to pack light, where we want to pack minimalist, where we want to only pack 1 backpack and 2 rods. That's where this rod comes into play. And we've already used this rod a couple times on the channel in 2025, and it's worked extremely well. So this is an all-purpose setup, can throw just about everything. It doesn't specialize in anything, it just does everything good enough, which is exactly what I'm looking for. So the rod here is a Dobyns Sierra Series 7-foot medium heavy power. So fast action tip as well. So that is as all-purpose as you can get. 7-foot medium heavy, can do just about everything good enough, which is perfect. We have 12-pound fluorocarbon on here, and the reel is the Shimano Corrado M 200 size reel. So this is a newer version of the Corrado K, but this is the Shimano Corrado M 7.4 to 1 gear ratio. So right run-of-the-mill, middle of the road, going as basic as we can get with this setup to try to tackle as many situations as we possibly can. I have a lipless crankbait tied on there right now. But yeah, so this is the all-purpose combo that we have. Very excited for this. This is for, you know, when we go on the bass boat with Bruce, when we go bank fishing, you know, things like that, those specialty trips where we can't pack super heavy. You know, I highly doubt this will ever see a tournament. It may see a tournament where it's like a frog only tournament and I want to bring like a backup just in case the frog rod breaks or fails for whatever reason. This may serve as a backup in those specialty tournaments, but overall just an all-purpose setup when we have to pack minimalist. So very cool. So we are on the home stretch, and this is the last reel in the entire arsenal as of 2026. So let's talk about it. So this is my spinnerbait setup, a dedicated spinnerbait setup. So the rod here is a Dobyns Champion XP 6'8" medium heavy fast action. I really like having the shorter rods for things like spinnerbaits, being able to cast under docks easier, being able to do all those things a little bit easier. I like having shorter rods for spinnerbaits in particular. I really, really like it. So this is a 6'8" medium heavy fast action. This is really, really good for spinnerbaits. I'm definitely a fan. And the model number on this Dobyns, the DC683C is the model number of this Dobyns rod. So that's great. We have 12-pound fluorocarbon on this guy, and the reel is a Shimano Corrado DC 6.2 to 1 gear ratio. So in terms of the reel itself, it's been an excellent reel for me. I have no complaints. I'm really, really happy with this reel overall. I've had it for a couple years now as well. I'm a fan of it. You know, no real complaints from me. The DC, you know, I love to talk about this every year. The DCs tend to attract the younger audiences, the beginner anglers, the kids who see it on YouTube who love to buy these kind of DC reels solely for the noise that it makes. And truthfully, you know, there are situations where DCs make more sense than regular reels, but I actually do not recommend them to people starting out in bass fishing or fishing with bait casters at all. Like I said, the DCs are great, but they don't really teach you how to use reels, how to tune in bait casters, how to dial in bait casters, and practicing with them. You know, a lot of kids and beginner anglers love the DCs because of the noise or because their favorite YouTuber is using it, so they have to have it. You do not need a DC. You know, the DCs, in my opinion, the only time where they make a lot of sense, for me at least, is baits that get easily caught in the wind. So things like spinnerbaits, you know, when you cast them out in the wind, they turn into a sail. You know, especially when the wind is blowing at your face. If you try to cast a spinnerbait directly into the wind, not with the wind, into the wind, it's going to stop dead in its tracks. And the other reels, the non-DC reels, their brakes cannot adjust for that. So you're way more likely to bird's nest. With the DCs, the chips inside of them can actually adjust for that sudden drop of the bait with the wind, and you're way less likely to get backlashes. So in my opinion, the only place where DCs make sense is blades that get caught up in the wind very easily. Otherwise, in my opinion, you can skip it, especially if you're a younger angler. Like, don't get caught up in the noise. Don't get caught up in the fact that your favorite YouTuber is using DCs. Just get a reel that you can practice with, that you can get really good at, and then many years down the road, if you see the need for it as opposed to a non-DC, then you can justify it a lot better. But don't just get it because it sounds cool. Get it because you can justify a legitimate advantage over like a typical Shimano MGL. So that's my opinion on the DCs. Not necessarily needed and only needed in a specific set of circumstances. So yeah, guys, so that is going to do it for the 2026 Rod and Reel Arsenal video. My voice is sore now. I am tired. I've been talking for like 35 plus minutes, probably 40 minutes now. I feel we went pretty in-depth as best we can across all 14 of these combos. These things are going to get some hard use here extremely soon. We're going to be hitting the ground running pretty hard when it comes to fishing. Thankfully we have a little bit of a window in this coming tournament season to kind of practice with the force current, practice with the trailer before we start hitting tournaments pretty hard. The tournaments will hopefully start in late April, early May. That's when the first tournament's starting. So thankfully, it's not going to be overly cold at the start of tournament fishing season like it was last year. So we got a little bit of time to practice with new combos, with the forced current, with our trailer that's coming. So pretty excited for this coming season, guys. There's a lot to look forward to. And I hope you guys enjoyed this Rod and Reel Arsenal video and it helped you guys out in any way. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to go give my voice a rest and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.